Here's a number that should stop every endurance athlete cold. In a studied group of Ironman 70.3 finishers, athletes who properly replaced the sodium they lost in sweat finished an average of 26 minutes faster than those who didn't. Same fitness, same training, same race. 26 minutes. And yet, most athletes I work with spend thousands of hours on swim, bike, and run fitness, and almost zero time understanding the one physiological system that can unravel all of it on race day: electrolytes. If you're a marathoner, a triathlete, an ultra runner, or anyone training for an endurance event longer than 90 minutes, this video is for you. Whether you're chasing your first marathon finish line or your 10th Ironman buckle, what I'm about to share will change how you approach every long training session and every race from here on out. Here's exactly what you're going to walk away with: the real science of what electrolytes actually do inside your body during prolonged effort, why getting this wrong can be genuinely dangerous, and how to spot the warning signs early, how your strategy must change between a marathon, an Ironman, and an ultra, the products that actually work, and the ones marketed to athletes that don't. And finally, a 4-step blueprint you can start using in your very next training block. Quick introduction for those who don't know me. I've completed over 100 triathlons, 31 Ironmans, including the World Championships in Kona, and multiple ultramarathons. I've made every electrolyte mistake there is to make. I've cramped at mile 80 of an Ironman. I've overhydrated and bonked. I've watched athletes I was racing with end up in medical tents because they got this wrong. And over 3 decades of training and racing, I've built a framework that works for me and for the athletes our team coaches. One important note: I'm not a licensed nutritionist or registered dietitian. What I'm sharing comes from decades of personal racing experience, the research I'll cite throughout this video, and the protocols we use with athletes at Wingman Multisport Coaching. If you want truly personalized nutrition guidance, our Wingman coaching team includes credentialed nutrition professionals who can build a plan specific to your physiology, your training load, and your race goals. I'll drop the link in the description. 2 quick asks before we dive in. 1. Hit subscribe. If you want more content like this, we're publishing weekly videos on the science of endurance training, race day execution, and the lessons I've learned the hard way over 3 decades in this sport. 2. Join us inside the free Salt Mile Endurance community. It's where serious endurance athletes gather to share training plans, race strategies, and ask the questions that actually move the needle. Link below. All right, let's start with the science. Your body runs on electrical signals. Every muscle contraction, every nerve impulse, every heartbeat, all of it depends on a carefully maintained balance of charged minerals moving in and out of your cells. Those minerals are your electrolytes: sodium, potassium, chloride, magnesium, and calcium. Here's what each one actually does. Sodium is the dominant player. It's the most abundant electrolyte in your sweat and the one you lose in the greatest quantities during exercise. Sodium controls plasma osmolality, essentially how thick or thin your blood is. It drives fluid absorption in the gut. It maintains blood volume. And critically, it stimulates thirst, so your body knows when to drink. When sodium drops, performance drops with it. And if it drops far enough, you're in a medical emergency. Potassium works in partnership with sodium to create the electrical gradient across muscle cell membranes that makes contraction possible. Most endurance athletes won't deplete potassium to a dangerous level in a single race, but consistent losses across multi-day events, like a stage race or a 100-mile ultra, do matter. Magnesium supports over 300 enzymatic reactions in your body, including energy production and muscle relaxation. It's the electrolyte most linked to the feeling of deep muscular fatigue and tightness in the back half of a long race. Chloride travels with sodium and is essential for maintaining proper fluid balance and pH levels in the blood. Here's what makes electrolyte management genuinely complex. Your sweat rate and your sweat sodium concentration are highly individual. Research shows that sodium losses can range from as low as 200 milligrams per liter of sweat to over 2,000 milligrams per liter. The difference between a salty sweater and a low sodium sweater is not small. It's a tenfold variation. That means a strategy that works perfectly for your training partner could leave you cramping, dizzy, or worse on your race day. Let's talk about what happens when you get this wrong. Because in endurance sports, the consequences aren't just a bad race. they can be life-threatening. Hyponatremia, low blood sodium, is the most dangerous hydration error an endurance athlete can make. And here's the painful irony. It's most commonly caused by drinking too much water, not too little. When you flood your system with plain water without replacing sodium, you dilute the sodium concentration in your blood. Your cells swell. If it progresses, you experience confusion, nausea, seizures, and in rare but documented cases, death. Exercise-associated hyponatremia disproportionately affects slower, smaller athletes in hot, humid conditions, athletes who are on course for longer periods, sweating heavily, and drinking aggressively out of well-intentioned fear of dehydration. The athlete who finishes a marathon in 5 hours carrying a water bottle and hitting every aid station with plain water is far more at risk than the athlete finishing in 3. The rule is simple: never drink to a schedule. Drink to thirst, and always replace sodium alongside fluid. Now let's talk about cramping, because this is where the science gets genuinely fascinating and contested. For decades, the accepted theory was that muscle cramps during endurance events were caused purely by sodium depletion and dehydration. The logic was clean: lose sodium, disrupt the electrical gradient, muscles misfire. But more recent research has introduced the neuromuscular fatigue theory, which argues that cramps originate from overstimulation of fatigued motor neurons, essentially your nervous system misfiring as the muscle runs out of capacity to perform. The truth is almost certainly both. Studies show that 67% of triathletes and up to 70% of marathoners experience cramping during racing. The athletes most likely to cramp share two characteristics: they're late in the race and they're sodium depleted. Sodium intake has been shown in lab conditions to reduce cramping onset. The mechanism may be two things happening simultaneously: a fatigued neuromuscular system being pushed over the edge by electrolyte disruption. The practical takeaway: you can't train away cramping if your electrolytes are wrong. I've had many an Ironman race where halfway into the marathon run, the cramps started. The recovery at that point is hard. You have to know your body and what you have been taking to identify what you need to stock up on. The framework shifts significantly depending on how long you're out there. Let's go discipline by discipline. The marathon, 3 to 6 hours. For most marathon runners, electrolyte management is simpler than they think, and the most dangerous mistake is overcomplicating fluid intake. At race pace, you're losing roughly 1,000 to 1,500 milliliters of sodium per hour. For a 4-hour marathon, that's 4,000, 6,000 milliliters of sodium across the race. The strategy: preload with a high sodium electrolyte drink 60-90 minutes before the start. On course, take electrolytes at aid stations from mile 6 onward. If you're a salty sweater, you know because you see white salt crystals on your skin and kit. Carry electrolyte capsules and take one every 30-45 minutes after the first hour. The Ironman, 9 to 17 hours. This is where electrolyte management becomes a full technical discipline. During the bike leg alone, 4.5 to 7 hours, you can lose 7,000 to 14,000 milliliters of sodium. The race is won or lost on the bike-to-run transition, and the leading cause of that collapse is electrolyte failure. Target 1,000-1,500 milliliters of sodium per hour on the bike. Use measured electrolyte bottles. Don't guess. The run is where discipline matters most. Alternate electrolyte drink and water at every aid station. If cramping signals arrive early on the run, increase sodium immediately. Don't wait. The ultra marathon, anything beyond 26.2 miles. Ultra events introduce a variable that shorter races don't: multi-organ sodium management over many hours or days. At 50 miles and beyond, you're not just managing sweat sodium, you're managing gut function, kidney load, and the compounding effect of consecutive nights with disrupted sleep and appetite. The non-negotiable rules for ultras: never rely on aid station food alone for sodium. It's inconsistent and unreliable. Carry your own electrolyte capsules. At events exceeding 12 hours, magnesium supplementation becomes important, typically 200-400 milliliters in the second half of the race. And monitor urine color obsessively. Pale yellow is correct, clear means you've drunk too much, dark means you're behind. The electrolyte product market has exploded in the last 5 years, and not all products are built equal for serious endurance athletes. Here's how to read the landscape. For high sodium needs, LMNT. LMNT delivers 1,000 milligrams of sodium per serving, double most competitors, with zero sugar, zero artificial sweeteners, and a short, clean ingredient list. For heavy sweaters doing efforts over 90 minutes in heat, this is one of the most aggressive and effective options available. The limitation, it has no carbohydrate, so it works best combined with a separate carbohydrate source. For personalized sweat replacement, precision fuel and hydration. Precision Hydration has built their entire brand around sweat testing and individualization. They offer product tiers from 250 milligrams to 2,500 milligrams sodium per liter, matched to your sweat sodium concentration. If you can access a sweat test through a lab, a sports dietitian, or their own testing service, this is the most scientifically grounded approach to getting your personal dosing right. For convenience and lower intensity sessions, Nuun. Nuun tablets are practical, portable, and perfectly adequate for moderate training days and shorter races. At 300 millimeters sodium per tablet, they're underdosed for serious long course racing. You'd need 2 to 3 tablets per bottle in a full Ironman or Ultra, but for daily training, hydration, and travel, they're hard to beat on convenience. For ultra racing, electrolyte capsules, SaltStick, precision hydration capsules, and similar products give you the flexibility to manage sodium intake independently of how much fluid you're consuming. Critical in ultras where gut distress can make drinking large volumes impossible. Target 1 capsule every 30-45 minutes from hour 2 onward in any event exceeding 4 hours. One critical warning on products. Many mainstream sports drinks, the ones you'll find at every marathon aid station, contain far less sodium than serious endurance athletes need, often 200 to 500 milliliters per liter, while delivering significant sugar. They're designed for general fitness consumers, not athletes covering 100 plus miles. Read the label. Know your numbers. Everything I've covered today means nothing unless you build a personal protocol and actually test it in training. Here's exactly how to do that. Step 1. Know your sweat profile. Start by observing yourself on a hard 2-hour training effort in moderate heat. Do you see salt crystals on your skin or kit at the end? Does your face sting when sweat hits your eyes? Do you feel mentally foggy or get a headache in the back half of long sessions? These are signs of a salty sweater with higher than average sodium needs. If yes, you need to be toward the higher end of sodium replacement, 1,015 milligrams per hour in long events. If none of these apply, 500-800 milligrams per hour may be sufficient. For a precise answer, book a sweat test. It's the most impactful single investment you can make in your race nutrition. Step 2. Preload every long race. The night before any event exceeding 90 minutes, drink a strong electrolyte drink with dinner, 500-750 milliliters with at least 1,000 milligrams of sodium. The morning of the race, repeat this 60-90 minutes before the gun. This strategy expands blood plasma volume, reduces cardiovascular strain, and means you start the race ahead rather than playing catch-up from kilometer 1. Step 3. Build and rehearse your race day system. Your electrolyte plan must be tested in training, not discovered on race day. In your long training sessions, practice the exact products, the exact timing, and the exact quantities you'll use on race day. Heat adaptation training will naturally reduce your sweat sodium concentration over 4 to 10 days of heat exposure, lowering your replacement needs, but only once you've earned that adaptation. Step 4. Trust the warning signs. Your body communicates electrolyte status constantly. Muscle twitching in the calves or hamstrings in the second half of a race is a sodium warning. Act immediately. Mental fog or unusual irritability during an ultra is often low sodium. Swelling in the hands and fingers during a long run is a sign of overdrinking. Back off the water and increase sodium. Here's the bottom line. Electrolytes are not a supplement category. They are a fundamental physiological system. And in events lasting longer than 90 minutes, they are the single most controllable variable between a performance you're proud of and a race that falls apart. The athletes who get this right don't just feel better late in a race. They think clearer, hold their pace longer, recover faster, and cross finish lines with something left over. Get your electrolytes right, everything else gets easier. Before you go, 3 quick things. If this video helped you think differently about race day nutrition, smash that like button. It's the single biggest thing you can do to help this channel grow and reach more endurance athletes. Subscribe and hit the bell so you don't miss next week's video where we're going deep on fueling strategy, how to pair carbohydrate intake with the electrolyte protocol we just covered, and come join us inside the free Salt Mile Endurance community. It's where serious athletes, marathoners, triathletes, ultra runners gather to share training, ask questions, and learn from each other. If you want personalized coaching from our team of credentialed nutrition pros and experienced endurance coaches at Wingman Multisport Coaching, that link is in the description too. Drop a comment below. What's your biggest electrolyte question or the worst hydration disaster you've had in a race? I read every one, and the best questions become future videos. I am JT, and L will see you in the next one. Train smart, race smarter.